Good day everyone, especially to our professor, Professor Claire Macabalang. And this is the pre-recorded video of the Group 5. But before we proceed to our topic, let me introduce first my group mates. First, we have yours truly, Aprilin A. Esmundo. We have Ma'am Risi Mile A. Penuela, Ma'am Glenna Joy G. Fronda, Ma'am Honey Jean V. Crepus, and Ma'am Joanne M. Ortiz. The first topic is all about the new normal of education. And this is to be reported by yours truly, Aprilin A. Esmundo. Since its outbreak in late December 2019, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc across the world unlike any critical sector. Education has been hit hard. Students, schools, colleges, and universities have been deeply impacted. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, over 800 million learners from around the world have been affected. 1 in 5 learners cannot attend school. 1 in 4 cannot attend higher education classes. And over 102 countries have ordered nationwide school closures, while 11 have implemented localized school closure. Globally, over 200,000 cases of the coronavirus have been reported in more than 160 countries, which have resulted in more than 8,000 deaths and left several states dealing with severe outbreaks. The COVID-19 pandemic will adversely impact the progress some governments were making increasing the education budget. Therefore, this is a crisis that requires urgent attention and collective action by all governments, stakeholders, and communities. The new normal for students and schools. In the middle of a pandemic, it's impossible to set expectations. We had deadlines when this all started, and they were either reached or not. Sticking to deadlines was already a hard and quick guideline for some high school teachers and college professors when the pandemic started. Other teachers, on the other hand, were more lenient with pupils, recognizing that everyone was going through a tough time. For students who were demotivated by COVID-19, this system performed fairly well. However, as this has been our current routine, getting back on track would take some tinkering, much like anything else. Collaboration between students and teachers is possible. Professors and teachers are adapting their curricula and experimenting with innovative educational methods in order to provide us with a high-quality education. Many teachers have the lofty purpose of dialogue and interaction in mind as students come to the classroom, but the right ones aren't there to make you uncomfortable or hand you busy work. We need to reach them halfway as teachers. If it used to mean just showing up to class, it might now mean clicking on the camera, answering questions, and if at all possible, hitting deadlines. It may seem to be more effort, but it makes all the difference in terms of developing a friendship with your professors and instructors, as well as ensuring a successful lesson. It goes without saying that learning in today's new normal is a tough feat, not just for the students but for the teachers and the parents as well. Thus, the need for open learning options is on the rise to help solve key issues and keep giving top-notch learning amid the global health crisis. One key approach is to adapt the ways of blended learning. This system uses both offline and online education through technology. Planning for the new normal learning. With the sad truth that everyone is able to have access to blended learning tools, there is still a need to adapt to certain demands during this challenging time. On the most basic level, here are the things Filipino students need to prepare for the new normal learning. First, we need to set study space. Having this helps boost the whole learning setup. Next is test runs. Doing this aims to launch the new setup to learners at home. Learning routine. Having a routine helps students adjust to the new setup. Ways to keep updated. This helps students to stay abreast of updates to ensure smooth learning. Healthy mindset and well-being. Despite the sudden shift to online learning, having a stable support system during such a change is important. And that ends my topic about the new normal of education. Thank you for listening and keep safe.
To my fellow educators, to our professor, Doc Claire Macabalang, have a pleasant day to all of us. I am Grace Simile A. Pinuela. My topic is all about the internet and education. The internet has become increasingly important feature of the learning environment for teenagers. Teens use the internet as an essential study aid outside the classroom, and the internet increasingly has a place inside the classroom. Internet to enable sustainable development. The past 30 years have seen tremendous growth in the capabilities and reach of information and communication technologies, ICTs. The internet especially has become a critical enabler of social and economic change, transforming how government, business, and citizens interact and offering new ways of addressing development challenges. It has also transformed education by creating a new culture of learning and accessing information. There is no doubt that the internet has immense potential to improve the quality of education, which is one of the pillars of sustainable development. While it is important to remember that the internet is not, of course, the answer to every challenge posed by education, it can help to unlock human capabilities that can improve learning and teaching. The internet has immense potential to improve the quality of education, which is one of the pillars of sustainable development. This Internet Society briefing outlines ways in which policymakers can unlock that potential through an enabling framework for access to the Internet. It set out 5 priorities for policymakers: infrastructure and access, vision and policy, inclusion capacity, and content and devices. Together, these represent key consideration for unlocking access to the internet support of education. Education is both a basic human right. Education enables individuals to build more prosperous and successful lives and societies to achieve economic prosperity and social welfare. Access to the internet is fundamental to achieving this vision for the future. It can improve the quality of education in many ways. It opens doorways to a wealth of information, knowledge, and educational resources, increasing opportunities for learning in and beyond the classroom. Teachers use online materials to prepare lessons and students to extend the range of learning. Interactive teaching methods, supported by the internet, enable teachers to give more attention to individual students' needs and support shared learning. This can help to rectify inequalities in education experienced by girls and women. Access to the internet helps educational administrators to reduce the cost and improve the quality of schools and colleges. Educationalists are enthusiastically exploring opportunities and discovering new ways in which they can use the internet to improve education outcomes. Development puts it in the challenge is to help teachers and students use technology in relevant and authentic ways that actually improve education and foster the knowledge and skills necessary for lifelong learning. Lack of access is first and foremost among these. Access to the internet with sufficient bandwidth is essential for the development of an information society. Lack of broadband connectivity is preventing widespread use of internet in education and other areas of life in many countries. Success of internet and education will be measured by educational outcomes, improvements in students' attainments, job opportunities, and contribution to national development. We have 5 priorities for internet and education. First, infrastructure and access, vision and policy, inclusion, capacity, and content and devices. Let us discuss first infrastructure and access. No strategy for internet and education can succeed without adequate infrastructure and access to resources. As the Internet Society's Enabling Environment Framework makes clear, this requires infrastructure investment, skills, and entrepreneurship together with supportive governance for the Internet ecosystem. Broadband access today is unevenly distributed. People in developed countries are more than 4 times as likely to have mobile broadband subscription than those in least developed countries. Next, we have vision and policy. Policymakers concerned with ICTs and education have the opportunity to develop a vision for the future which will enable technology to benefit both students and national development. They should work together to develop that vision and to design policies that integrate ICTs in national strategies for sustainable development, including critical development sectors like education. Policies for internet access and use should encompass the entire education system, from preschool and primary education through secondary and tertiary education to lifelong learning, reskilling, and retraining. The aim should be improve the digital literacy and skills of everyone throughout society, adults as well as children. The third one is the inclusion. If the internet is to contribute effectively to this, access must be available at all levels of education in both formal and informal learning. Some communities are better equipped than others to take advantage of the internet because infrastructure is more available or more affordable to them because they have better access to internet-enabled devices or because they have economic or social advantages. The fourth one is the capacity. Education is at the heart of capacity building. It is through education that people gain skills that equip them to find jobs, start businesses, lead fulfilling lives, and provide for themselves and their families. Education builds the capabilities that societies also require to improve productivity and achieve economic growth, to manage health and social services, and to play a full part in the global community of nations. The last but not the least, content and devices. One of the most dramatic differences the internet can make lies in opening access to a wider range of content for teaching and learning. Content that is explicitly educational in purpose and the much wider range of online content that can supplement curricula. Instead of relying primarily on textbooks, teachers can direct students to many different sources and students can develop research skills by exploring online content on their own. Policymakers should track the development of the internet to ensure that policies and implementation plans take advantage of this and remain relevant as technology and services evolve. Internet access provides great opportunities for education policymakers to improve the quality of education for individual learners and contribute to national economic and social welfare. new ways of teaching and learning, better access to a much wider range of information and resources, new skills for the digital age. All this can transform lives, helping to achieve education for all and other sustainable development goals. By working together, policymakers, the internet community, and education stakeholders can develop comprehensive policy approaches tailored to the circumstances of their countries and communities, establishing the required infrastructure and access to resources, ensuring inclusion, building capabilities, and facilitating access to content and devices. This will contribute not just to education but to the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Agenda and of an information society that meets the needs of all. And that is all about my topic. Thank you for listening and keep safe. Again, I am Grace Emily A. Penuela.
A pleasant day to everyone, especially to our professor, Ma'am Claire Macabalang. I am Glenna Joy Fronda, and today I am going to discuss about ethics, copyright, and professional responsibilities. First, let us define ethics. Ethics is based on well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Ethical standards also include those that enjoin virtues of honesty, compassion, and loyalty. And ethical standards include standards relating to rights, such as the right to life, the right to freedom from injury, and the right to privacy. Such standards are adequate standards of ethics because they are supported by consistent and well-founded reasons. In digital literacy, data collected during research can hold personal, sensitive, or confidential information. Often, historians do not have to worry about this as many of the people and events they study occurred beyond anyone still living. Even when dealing with ages before this, some degree of thought might be necessary regarding ethics and consent. First is we have personal data. Personal data are data which relates to a living individual who can be identified from those data or other information which is in the possession of the data controller and includes any expression of opinion about the individual and any indication of the intentions of the data controller. Second, confidential data. Confidential data are data given in a confidence or data agreed to be kept confidential. Third, sensitive personal data. Sensitive personal data are defined as data on a person's race, ethnic origin, political opinion, religious or similar beliefs, trade union membership, physical or mental health or condition, sexual life, commission or alleged commission of an offense. Research data, even that which is sensitive or confidential, can be shared if researchers pay attention to ethics and legal requirements. Often, this is made much easier if the issue is considered right at the beginning. Thus, when gaining informed consent, include provision for data sharing. Next, make data anonymous. And consider the possibility of restricting or controlling access to the data. Remember to ensure that consent is informed and it must be freely given with sufficient information provided in all aspects of participation and data use. Thus, always ensure that participants are informed how the research data will be stored, preserved, and used in the short and long term and how the confidentiality will be ensured. And now let us discuss about copyright. Copyright is a legal concept giving the creator of an original work the exclusive rights to it, and to who may use it and for what purposes. This is usually for a limited time only and ensures that the copyright holder is credited for his or her work. Copyright is a type of intellectual property that protects original works of authorship, as soon as an author fixes the work in a tangible form of expression. Why is copyright important? Copyright is important as it helps to protect the value of an author, academic, researcher's work by giving the originator of the work the ability to protect it from unlicensed or uncredited usage. This leads to the prevention of their work being copied to the degree where they cannot sell it effectively or receive credit for it. In this way, copyright fosters intellectual creativity as it provides an incentive for a creator to work freely, allowing them to gain recognition for their work as well as protecting their livelihood. Copyright is a form of protection given to the authors or creators of original works, including content published on the web. What that means is that, as the content author, you alone have the right to do any of the following or to let others do any of the following. First, make copies of your work. Second, distribute copies of your work. Third, perform or display your work publicly. And fourth, make derivative works, and this includes making modifications, adaptations, or other new uses of a work or translating the work to other media. Anyone who exploits any of the exclusive rights of copyright without the copyright's owner's permission commits copyright infringement. The copyright law establishes some limitations on the rights of the copyright owner. One of the most important limitations on the exclusive rights is the doctrine of fair use, which allows limited copying of copyrighted works for educational and research purposes. And now let us dig deeper about professional responsibilities. Professional responsibilities generally refer to duties an employee owes to his employer and his clients. An employer expects an employee to provide professional quality service and communication at all times through oral and written communication. It also refers to a code of ethics or oath of office required in certain professions. An employee has professional responsibilities to manage a caseload, complete assignments in a timely manner, and to make contributions as a productive team member. Professional ethics. Professional ethics are the individual's commitment to follow a particular code of behavior that is defined by his profession. Professional ethics can include punctuality at work, meeting deadlines, not gossiping about colleagues, and maintaining company confidentiality and privacy. What are the professional responsibilities of teachers? Teaching is a mixture of art and science. There is no certainty as to what can happen in a classroom at any time. Effective teachers adjust to whatever conditions present themselves. To operate in these situations requires that teachers act as professionals, having maximum freedom. Teachers should be given the responsibilities that define a profession, and here they are. First, show love, respect, and caring for each student. This requires that teachers help each student to identify his or her strengths, abilities, talents, and interests. Teachers assist students to aspire to become productive members of society and contribute to the public good. Working in tandem with parents, teachers have the responsibility of providing learning activities that make it possible for each student to achieve his or her amazing genius potential. These services are characteristic of effective schools and extraordinary teachers. Second, complete control over curriculum and teaching strategies. Schools should provide an array of learning possibilities, self-selected learning, project experimentation, the arts, mentoring experiences, and adult-directed learning. When a child is ready to learn a particular item is a professional judgment made by a teacher or a selection made by the student. Similarly, what teaching strategies are to be used and the materials to accompany them are the responsibility of teachers. Teachers have the knowledge and appreciation to determine the appropriate time an item ought to be taught. The teacher also knows what materials will result in maximum learning. Without having control of curriculum, teachers cannot be held accountable. Third, professions are self-evaluation systems. Individuals in any profession evaluate the work of their colleagues. They bring charges against those who do not follow professional standards and ethics. It has been shown by studies that teachers can evaluate the work of other teachers as well as or better than school administrators. And fourth, evaluation of learning is a judgment and not a test. These judgments are much more accurate than standardized tests. Teachers develop their own assessment measures. There may be some variability in the teacher's judgment, but the certainty of the test score is absurd. No test is more meaningful than the teacher's judgment about the child's attitudes and what the child has or has not learned. And that concludes my report. Thank you for listening and keep safe.
Hello everyone, especially to our Professor Ma'am Claire Macabalang. I am Hanijin V. Corpus, your reporter about the introduction to distance education, online and blended environments. In the Philippines, the Department of Education has applied distance learning modalities to ensure learning continuity, which involve technology and internet connections. This way, students can continue their education in remote setups through online or offline platforms, TV and radio, and printed modules. They can access these tools in various ways, such as blended learning. Distance learning is a way of educating students online. Lectures and learning materials are sent over the internet. Students work from home, not in a classroom. Due to the coronavirus, distance learning, typically a style of teaching utilized by colleges and universities, is now being adopted by elementary and high school students as well. Inter-school districts and campuses are being forced to create online-based learning opportunities and do it effectively. There are two main categories of distance learning. First, synchronous distance learning. It refers to a method of education delivery that happens in real time. It uses technology such as teleconferencing. Synchronous learning proves less flexible than other forms of distance learning. After all, students must meet with their instructor and sometimes their classmates at pre-scheduled times. Second, asynchronous distance learning. It comes with more opportunities for student interaction. Students receive clusters of weekly deadlines. They have the freedom to work at their own speed. Students can access course content beyond the scheduled meeting or class time and interact through online conversations, quizzes, or video comments on their own schedule. However, the social atmosphere of an online learning environment must be carefully cultivated by the instructor through opportunities for meaningful and effective online interaction. Blended learning is a combination of the two learning approaches, online learning and traditional physical classroom. In a blended learning environment, learners are exposed to a traditional face-to-face learning environment as well as a technology-based learning environment. Blended learning approach can accommodate all types of learners. Benefits of adopting blended learning. First, enhances safety. During these dire straits, there's nothing more we can do than to practice safety measures such as social distancing. Hence, this school year might not be your typical classroom type of learning, for it will mainly adopt online teaching modes. Through this, students can browse their modules at home without risking their health and safety. Second, promotes autonomy. Studying at home surely provides students ease and freedom to do things at their own will and pace. they can manage their time on their own since they can access their modules in advance. If not done wisely, they may end up cramming until the last minute of their deadline. Hence, this prompts them to practice proper time management at an early age. Third, improves feedback system. In this setup, most quizzes and exams are done virtually. Thus, students can receive their scores right after checking. Through this fast feedback system, teachers will have a firm understanding of their students' weak areas and creates a better plan to bridge their learning gap. Fourth, boost efficiency. Students and teacher can access the modules anytime and anywhere given that internet signals reaches the area. And lastly, allows flexibility. Since students don't have the same learning styles, teachers often find it hard to sustain their interest, especially if they're enclosed in a classroom's four walls. But this changed when blended learning took part in the usual learning setup. Today, teachers can use online activities which include videos and other media types to encourage participation from their students. That's all about my report. Thank you.
Good day everyone, especially to our Professor Claire Macabala. I am Joanne M. Ortiz. My topic is all about protections for students' data and privacy. Privacy is the protection of an individual's personal information. It is the act of being free from public attention. Republic Act number 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, is a law that seeks to protect all forms of information, be it private, personal, or sensitive. It is meant to cover both natural and access and use student information. FERPA protects the access to and sharing of students' education record, which is all information directly related to a particular student as part of his or her education. FERPA gives parents specific rights to their child's education records, and when a child turns 18, the rights belong directly to him or her. FERPA also permits schools to share information with another school's system regarding a student's enrollment or transfer, specified officials for audit or evaluation purposes, appropriate parties and connection with financial aid to students, organizations conducting certain studies for or on behalf of the school, and accrediting organizations. The COPA or COPPA, the Children's Online Policy Protection Act, controls what information is collected from young children by companies operating websites, games, and mobile applications directed toward children under 13.